It is a bit weird that this car is called Seal U, even though it does not stand on the same platform as the regular Seal. Anyway, let's find out if it is any good then. My name is Bastiaan and welcome to Electric on Wheels. For less money than, for example, a Kia EV6 or Volkswagen ID4, you get a car that is longer than those cars with the BYD Seal U. The Seal U is available with two different drivetrains, or well, two different battery packs, one of 72 kilowatt hours and one of 87 kilowatt hours. Both battery packs always have front wheel drive and both do 0 to 100 in around 9.5 seconds. Wow, look at this! So much space but no frunk. And for the boot, I already have to go to the good, the lovely, the bad and the ugly. You get a lot of car for the money. Look at the massive space on the rear seats. And also the boot is pretty decent. According to BYD, it is 425 liters with the seats up. Although, if you ask me, it looks a bit bigger. And with the seats down, it is 1440 liters. Compare this infotainment system software with the Atto 3 I drove 1.5 years ago, and it improved greatly. So yes, BYD is listening to its customers and continuously improving its software. It is normal that the faster you go, the more regen you have when you lift your foot off the accelerator. But in the Seal U, in normal mode, it is always too weak, and in high, it is okay when driving with a higher speed, but otherwise. The adaptive cruise control with lane keeping assist is not that great. You feel too much corrections in the steering wheel, even when driving in a straight line. And to keep your set speed, it is sometimes too noticeable that the car is accelerating and braking. Although I have to say it has been improved since I drove the Atto 3 1.5 years ago. In my review of the Renault Scenic, I said there was nothing sporty about that car. Well, compared to the Seal U, the Renault Scenic is a dynamic car to drive. This is one of the most comfortable and indirect steering cars that I have driven in a while. The steering is in sport mode and I can do this, and basically nothing is happening. It is just a really comfortable car to drive. Driving in town on a rougher road or going over a speed bump and you don't feel that much compared to other cars. Driving on the highway and you just glide over the surface. It is also really quiet, this car. It is a really quiet car. A downside of the comfortable suspension is though, if you are driving with a higher speed on a less smooth road, the suspension can feel a bit unsettling and you don't have to mind that. Oh, taking a corner with a higher speed? Not recommended, not recommended. You also sit pretty high, so you have a good visibility forward. Finding a good driving position is also no problem, but visibility to the rear is not that great. This particular car does not have a tow hook, but if it did, it could tow up to 1300 kilos. Then let's talk about efficiency. The WLTP range of the 72 kWh battery pack is 420 kilometers. The version that I am driving, the 87 kWh battery pack, has a WLTP range of 500 kilometers. And I have to say that during my range test, which you can view up here for more details if you want to, I came close to the WLTP range, but I didn't reach it. But it makes sense because during my test period it has been between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius. What I did notice though during my test period and also during my range test is that the consumption of this car is very sensitive to wind. If the wind is blowing a little harder or if you are driving faster, the consumption just goes up. And that also makes sense because this car has a drag coefficient of 0.32, which is not great. So yes, in summer on mixed roads you can definitely do the WLTP range and probably even more, but when driving on the highway, no, you can forget it. What helps in the winter with the efficiency though is that this car has a heat pump as standard. And I think the navigation software can also plan charging stops when your destination exceeds your range, because well, the functionality is there, but when I want to use it for some reason it is not working. For normal charging, the BYD Seal U has a 11 kilowatt onboard charger. Fast charging can be done with a maximum speed of 115 kilowatts for the smaller battery pack and 140 kilowatts for the larger battery pack. Charging from 10 to 80% will take you around 45 minutes. And for today's standards, that is not that great. It also cannot precondition the battery pack to improve fast charging speeds, but it does have support for vehicle to load. So what else is there besides a lot of space? Well, even though my knees are not in a weird angle, I don't have a lot of support for my legs, and that is because the seat is very flat. Besides that, the car is wide, I have a flat floor, so sitting here with 3 people, no problem. I have separate air vents, 2 USB-C ports, a armrest with 2 cup holders, and I can recline the seat if I want to. The interior of the Seal U feels very Chinese car, and what I mean by that is that it feels nicer in here than average for the money you pay. Everything just feels solidly built and nice materials are being used. It also feels very Chinese car in the sense that you have a huge screen here in the middle with little physical buttons. Although I have to say this BYD Seal U still has some physical buttons where a lot of Chinese cars don't. Besides that, your door pockets are not that big, but they do fit a 1 liter bottle. Here under the center armrest is a huge cubby. There are 2 cup holders here, 2 wireless charging pads for your phone. Under here, under the center console, is some storage space, 2 USB-C ports and also a 12-volt socket. And your glove box is also pretty big. I already mentioned that BYD greatly improved the infotainment system. And where I first didn't really like it, I now do actually. It is fast, it is responsive, it is also intuitive for the functionality that you have to use every day. Yes, for certain settings it is a bit of a search through the menus, but that is with all infotainment systems nowadays. You have some customizable shortcut buttons, for example, for all the mandatory safety systems that turn on by default. Besides that, you have support for wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and of course you can rotate it, but yeah, this is a gimmick if you ask me. So how happy does the BYD Seal makes me? Does it make me sad, neutral, smile or grin? Well, for me personally it doesn't really make me warm. Yes, if you just want a big comfortable car for the money, it is definitely an option, but in every other aspect it's not terrible, but it doesn't really stand out either. And that was the review. Thank you a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and then as always, to be continued.